You are here. Yes, we are back live and interactive at the Vitality Show. It's back for another year at Earls Court. My name's Nana Akua, aka Lady Excise, and we have got some treats for you. We have the Pronamel Kitchen, where there are gorgeous delights, culinary treats. We've also got the TLC Activia stage, where we'll be hearing talks from lots of different speakers, and of course loads of different lifestyle products that you've just got to have a try. So stay right here and keep it locked to Fitness TV. I'm here with Lucy Jones. She's about to do a talk. So Lucy, what's your talk about?
My talk today is about vitality from within. So really what I want to achieve from today is sharing some truths and actually exposing some myths, because there's a lot about them in terms of nutritional wellness. And there's a lot of conflicting information available in the media, and people are given very mixed messages. So what I just wanted to do is put forward some of the scientific evidence that's available for things like detox, nutritional supplements, even right through to skin aging, and actually let people know what advice they can trust and what they should stay away from.
Yeah, and so your main background is in?
I'm a registered dietitian, so I work in the NHS, but I also work privately, and I also work in the media. So most recently I've been involved in the Channel 4 show, The Food Hospital, where we brought people on and actually managed to treat a wide range of conditions by changing their diets and occasionally using nutritional supplements where it was actually indicated. And we had amazing results from doing that and managed to help a lot of people even completely cure their symptoms and sometimes come off their medications, which was astounding.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a fascinating subject, and obviously everyone's interested in diet and what they eat. If they want to find out more after the talk, where can they go?
We have a lot of food fact sheets available on the British Dietetic Association website, which is www.bda.uk.com.
Good morning. Welcome to the Vitality Show. I'm lucky enough to be the first speaker of the day, so welcome. My name is Lucy Jones, and today I'm going to be covering vitality from within. So, just to tell you a bit about me, I'm a registered dietitian, and I work both in the NHS and privately, and I also do media work. So some of you may have watched The Food Hospital last year, and I was on that. And we are coming back this year for Series 2, so watch out for that in September. And currently, I'm doing very little work at all because I've just had a baby. And that's him at the bottom, and he's 10 weeks old and taking up most of my time. So what I want to cover initially is actually something that most of us know, but very few of us do, which is getting a balanced diet. And for most of us, that is actually representing the Eat Well plate. Have you all seen that before? No? Well, what it means is a third of your diet should be made up of fruits and vegetables, a third of your diet made up of starchy foods, particularly whole grains, things like breads, pasta, rice, and then smaller chunks for your protein foods like meat or alternatives, dairy foods, and then a little bit of what you fancy at the bottom. Now, a lot of us have seen it. Hands up who actually thinks they achieve it. Hey, very good. I always say when it comes to getting the balance, actually the old sayings are the best in terms of everything in moderation, a little of what you fancy does you no harm, and you can have too much of a good thing, particularly when it comes to alcohol. So moving on to detox. How many people here have tried a detox before? Successfully? Ish? Okay. Who knows actually what a detox is? Who could define it for me? Getting rid of the toxins and cleaning out your cells. Okay, yeah, I think most people would probably agree with you. I did a Google search before this to actually look at what the accepted definitions of detox are. And actually the only medical definition of detox is about when people are detoxing from alcohol or drugs in hospital. And what we're talking about is something called alternative detox, which is actually a lot more controversial. And I think if we look at my personal opinion, I find it really difficult that we can place so much emphasis on 1 week out of 52 weeks of the year to try and undo the effects of the rest of the year. And actually what we need to do is place more emphasis on what you're doing for the whole of the year rather than just that 1 week. The British Dietetic Association says if the human body really accumulated toxins, then we would feel ill. And then I tried to look at what the medical community actually says about it. And this chap here, this is a caricature of Edzard Ernst, and he is the first professor of complementary medicine in the known universe. He's actually at the University of Exeter. And he has just done a huge review on alternative detox. And this is what he has found. He's found that the concept of detox is actually really popular, and he's looked at all the textbooks and the articles, and all of them have agreed that actually the principles of detox make no sense from a scientific perspective, and that there's no clinical evidence to support them. And actually the promotion of the detox treatments is fantastic for making money, but actually has the potential to do people harm, particularly when they're really far-fetched. I think when people decide to cut back on things like caffeine and alcohol, it's not going to do you any harm at all. But if you start going pure juice diets and taking out a lot of the food groups, then that has the potential to cause you harm. He says that there are lots of simplistic but incorrect concepts like detox about, and actually all claims should be scientifically tested before being advertised, and we don't always see that in detox. However, many of us choose to do it because we do feel that actually it makes us feel better. But perhaps what we need to do is to start thinking about the other 50 weeks of the year. What I want to move on to is actually looking at ways to lose weight without going to these extremes like detox. And the first thing to do is about timing it. I'm sure we've all done it. You wake up one morning and you think, oh my God, you know what, I've got to do something about this. You start doing it without actually much planning, without thinking, is the timing right? A week later, it's not worked. And actually what that does is it affects your self-esteem for being able to follow these plans in the future, and reduces your ability to stick to long-term weight loss goals. From personal experience, I can tell you, you've just had a baby, all you want to do is get your baby weight off, and yet it's completely the wrong time to do it because you're having no sleep, all your focus is on someone else. So you've got to actually assess your lifestyle and work out, is this the right time for me to be addressing my weight? The next thing you've got to do is assess the damage. Which parts of your lifestyle are really affecting your weight? And the best way to do this is for 2 weeks, keep a food diary, and it's got to be actually written down through the day whilst you're eating it, not remembering it at the end of the day, and keep an activity diary. And what you've then got to start doing is actually setting some goals. And it's another thing that we all go too hard, too fast. January comes, you're going to change everything in your lifestyle. I'm going to give up alcohol, I'm going to go to the gym every day of the week, I'm going to give up smoking, and I'm never going to eat another chocolate biscuit again, ever. End of week 1 happens, none of it's worked, you're back on everything that you were doing before Christmas. And the reason for it is because it's just not sustainable, nobody can do it. And what you've got to do is pick a maximum of 3 things, and they can be really small things. Mine was, whenever I get to Victoria Station, I'm going to walk up the escalators rather than stand on the right. And things that you can stick to, really simple like that, is actually the best thing to do, because once you achieve those, you can set yourself 3 more. So start looking at your lifestyle and setting yourself 3 goals. The next thing to look at is support. How many people here have done weight loss plans with support, like Weight Watchers or Slimming World? Yeah? The evidence is actually supporting them because they give you that ongoing support. You're getting your weight tracked each week, you get the emotional support from the other people there, and when people go it alone, actually their plans don't tend to last as long. So enlisting support, it can be family, it can be friends, or it can be an organised group, but somebody that's going to keep kicking you up the backside and saying, no, you've got to do it, you know, these were your plans. The next thing is planning. How many people here have brought a snack with them for today? I'm actually really impressed. Actually 6 hands went up, which was a lot better than yesterday. And I have to say, I can't put my hand up to join you, and I couldn't yesterday either. Absolutely terrible. So I will be joining the rest of you when we're getting the freebies around the stalls and then buying a very expensive sandwich from behind. And of course, if you don't plan and bring things with you, you are then at the mercy of what is available on the day, and that can really scupper any weight loss and healthy eating plans, because you are completely at the mercy of what they decide to serve. So one of the steps that you need to do is think about where you're going to be in a day and actually planning the snacks to take with you. And a lot of people really struggle to think of healthy snacks, and things that are really good is things like homemade pizza. You get a pita bread, you put some tomato paste on it, a little bit of grated cheese and some toppings, maybe some mushrooms or courgette or whatever you fancy. You cool it and take it in like a sandwich after you've grilled it so the cheese sticks everything on. And actually, it's a really healthy snack. It's got most of your food groups in there, and it's going to keep you filled up through the day, particularly if you use a whole grain or seeded pitta, which is a lower glycemic index. It's going to keep your blood sugars stable throughout the day. Other things might be taking little dips like hummus or cream cheese or salsa, and little sticks, be them breadsticks or vegetable crevettes that you can dunk in with them later. Things like that that you can carry with you, and of course unsalted nuts, dried fruits, that sort of thing. But always watch the portion sizes on dried fruits. They may look small, but each one is equivalent to a whole fruit. The next thing is mindful eating. Has anybody ever seen Paul McKenna's I Can Make You Slim? And he does a lot of this mindful eating. And it's all about when you eat, you've got to sit down. Don't let any distractions be around you. Turn the telly off, put the kids in another room. Give yourself 20 minutes of pure you time to eat. You then got to focus on your food, savour every mouthful, put your knife and fork down after you've taken a mouthful, and actually really chew it, smell it, swallow it, and don't pick your knife and fork up for another 30 seconds. The reason this works is actually when we eat, we're looking for all those I'm feeling full hormones to be released in the brain, but eating isn't the only thing that releases them. The thought of food, the smell of food, chewing your food, the taste of food, that all helps to release those hormones. So if you eat slowly and you focus on that meal, it can help you to feel fuller quicker and to stay fuller for longer. One of the worst things we do is eating when we're in a hurry, on the run, distracted, because you don't really notice that you've eaten, and you tend to be able to eat much more than you would have done otherwise. It's the true in babies, actually, they feel full just from the sucking motion, rather than the milk hitting their tummy. And it continues through to adulthood. So all of those senses that you're using when you're eating are really important in keeping you going. Rewarding your efforts. Once you've set your goals and you've made sure that they're time planned and that you've got a goal in mind, if you reach that, if you've managed to lose a pound at the end of week 2, or you've got in your jeans by the end of the 3rd month, reward yourself, but don't make it a chocolate hobnob. The best thing to do is put yourself into a back massage, a nice little weekend away, or going to the cinema, whatever it is that's going to tickle your fancy, but don't make it food related because it completely devoids the purpose. And of course the tortoise and the hare, we all know the old nursery rhyme, and the saying really is true with weight loss. Actually, slow and steady is what's going to keep that weight off for a long time. Unfortunately, when we all hit it hard and fast and you lose 5 pounds in the first week, you'll find most of it's water. And what happens when you really go under about 1,000 calories a day, when you hit things too hard, is the way your body metabolizes fuel changes. You lose a lot of water and you start breaking down lean muscle, which actually reduces the amount of calories you need in a day. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. The more muscle you have, the more calories you will need in a day. If you start burning that because you're not taking enough calories or protein in to support your muscle mass, your energy needs actually lower and you will struggle to lose weight at all. So not eating enough can actually cause your weight loss to stop. You've got to make sure that you're aiming for about a pound a week. Maximum, half a pound a week is also fine. And that way you're more likely to be losing fat stores, and of course you won't have to have gone at things so hard that you can't sustain them for the long term. If you decide to do a known diet, a commercial diet if you like, what one should you pick? Well, these 2 research studies I've put at the top of the slide, Sachs et al. And Dassinger et al., they both looked at comparing commercial diets and seeing which one was best, which one helped people to lose the most weight, and which one helped them to keep it off. And they've actually found between things like Weight Watchers, Atkins, Ornish and Zone diets, they are all much of a muchness. It really doesn't matter which one you pick to help you lose weight. What matters is picking the right one for you, because actually the people that lost the most weight were, of course, the ones that showed the most adherence to their diet and were able to stick to it. So if you're somebody that actually really finds the Atkins works for them, that's fine. If you're somebody that finds Weight Watchers works for them, that's fine. Because in fact, it's all about making it work for you and having the plan that's going to support your lifestyle and the one that you feel you can stick to most, because they're all going to help you lose about the same amount of weight. And the most important thing is to try and avoid fad diets. So Merriam-Webster defines a fad as practice or interest followed for a time with exaggerated zeal. Basically, too hard, too fast. In short, it promises very quick results with short time commitment. And in any of this, particularly with anything nutritional, if it sounds too good to be true, it normally is. Anything to do with changing your diet, losing weight, it's all the hard graft. There are no quick fixes. If there were, we'd be using them in the NHS. So, how to spot a fad? I was going to give you some examples here to let you know. Anything that claims fast weight loss, if it's promising a quick fix, if it promotes the magical fat-burning effects of foods, particularly things like celery, unfortunately that doesn't work either. If it avoids or severely limits whole food groups, or if it promotes only one type of food, if it suggests very easy, rapid weight loss, or it requires no exercise or activity, be wary. And if it recommends eating foods only in particular combinations, there's no scientific evidence for that at all. Right, so let's move on to nutritional supplements. Who here takes supplements? Oh, quite a lot actually, most of you. Does anyone mind telling me what they take? Multivitamin, evening primrose royal, omega-3 and calcium. Same as you. And folic acid. God, you must rattle when you walk. Spread out through the day. You're all taking supplements? Oh, I see. So you mean because the foods that we eat are often already supplemented with vitamins, that we're all taking vitamins? Activia. Okay, so you're counting probiotics as a nutritional supplement. Okay, yeah. Okay, a lot of foods these days are what we call functional foods, so they've got these added components to give them a specific claim or a specific purpose other than being a yogurt or a piece of bread or an egg. There's a lot of eggs now with added omega-3 or fish fingers, and they're all trying to add in different food components to give them an extra boost. So a lot of us take nutritional supplements. Who actually needs them? And what I've done is I've looked at the groups of people that can actually really benefit from nutritional supplements. Pregnancy and breastfeeding, obviously, folic acid and vitamin D are absolutely essential. And in the last trimester, people also need extra calories and extra things like protein and iron. It is possible to get that from your diet, but some people do like to take a supplement to help. All children under 5 years should have supplements. And that's A, C and D, and a lot of people get them in these little drops which they have on their tongue, and that should be up to the age of 5. Elderly or housebound, particularly for the vitamin D, which I know there's a lot of stands here today on vitamin D. You'll see it a lot as you go around. It's a real buzz topic at the moment because we found that the majority of the British population actually have a vitamin D deficiency because we don't have that much sunlight. However, this weekend is a good weekend to get yourself out, get some tanning. The other thing that happens when you get older is your body's ability to absorb and metabolize nutrients in the bowel changes. So it's actually, you can eat the same amount of food and not be able to get as much absorption through your bowel. So some people need extra things like B vitamins, like folic acid, or they find that they can develop anemia. And the other problem, of course, as you get older, you need less calories. Oh, it's no fun and games. So actually, your requirements for nutrients, your requirements for iron, folic acid, vitamin C, that's all the same, if not more. And yet your energy requirements, the amount of calories you need, go down. So your ability to meet your nutrient requirements with the amount of calories you're eating becomes much more difficult. So any wasted calories on things that we like actually become a negative impact on being able to get your full nutrient requirements. It becomes much more difficult as you get older because you need maximum nutrients for minimal calories. The next thing is certain medical conditions or medications, and of course this is something that we covered a lot on Food Hospital. We did use nutritional supplements for quite a few conditions with great effects. Like we used omega-3 oils for the people with psoriasis, and that worked brilliantly. Our lady with premenstrual syndrome, we tried on calcium tablets because she had completely had enough of having 5 portions of dairy a day. She felt like she was actually becoming a cow. And the last thing, of course, is anybody following a restricted diet, and that could be for a medical condition or it could be because of your own choice. If you're not, if we go back to that balance of good health picture, the Eat Well plate, having those right proportions and having enough calories, the likelihood is you're not going to be having enough of the nutrients, and for that reason you might be better having some nutritional supplements. For most of us, however, who are young and healthy, actually you can get everything you need from a balanced diet. And the danger of nutritional supplements is subconsciously they allow you to make compensations in your diet because you think you're getting what you need from the pill rather than getting it from the food. And actually we know in practice that the nutrients you get from a nutritional supplement aren't always the same or as good as the form that you get them in food. When you eat the whole food, you get more than one nutrient, and often the different nutrients help you to absorb it from the food. You don't get that from a supplement. Case in point being an iron pill. Actually, what you need to absorb non-heme iron, the iron that comes from non-meat sources, is vitamin C. So unless you're to take it with a glass of orange juice, you really wouldn't be able to absorb that. And of course, if you're getting it from a whole meal, a steak with some tomatoes and salad and some potatoes, you'd be getting all of those nutrients that help you to absorb it. And so sometimes it's much more effective just to try and get what you need from food. Then looking at immunity, we've just come out of a very bleak winter, and most of us find that our immunity suffers through the winter. Now actually, my top tip for keeping your immune system in good condition is to eat enough. It is so common that you don't eat enough on a few days and it affects your immunity, because actually malnutrition, not getting a good diet, is the #1 cause of immunodeficiency worldwide. And it's amazing. If you are trying to lose weight, you should not drop below 1,300 calories a day for a woman or 1,500 calories a day for a man, because it will start to affect your immune defense. If you become unwell, you're not going to be able to exercise, you're not going to be able to focus on your food regime, so actually it all falls to pieces anyway. So it's very backwards. The real top nutrients for helping your immune system is protein, so things like meat, fish, eggs, dairy, nuts and seeds, and pulses, things like beans, legumes, lentils. Vitamins include A, C, E, folate and B6. A really good top tip for knowing where to get your B vitamins is simple whole grains. They're one of the best source of B vitamins without having to resort to supplements. Another tip is actually commercial breakfast cereals are often fortified with B vitamins and iron. You can actually get about 40% of your daily needs. If you check on your cereal packet, a lot of them now are fortified, so that's a really good way of getting those in. Vitamin A, of course, is in a lot of meats, particularly things like liver, but of course you can also get it from those brightly orange-coloured fruits and vegetables. And C from all your fruits and vegetables. E is things like monounsaturated fatty acids, things like vegetable spreads, olive oil, or even things like olives or avocados, and a lot of nuts and seeds as well. In terms of the minerals you need for immunity, that's things like zinc, iron, copper and selenium. #1 source of selenium, of course, is Brazil nuts, but don't overdo it. I met somebody yesterday who really liked Brazil nuts, and they said they were having 30 a day. I almost fainted. About 1 a day gives you your entire selenium requirements, and 30 a day could possibly be toxic. So I asked them to just take it back down to about 2 or 3 and add in some other nuts. Try some almonds or some cashews or even peanuts, just have some different ones in there. And the last thing to cover on this is overnutrition and obesity actually reduces immunity as well. So keeping yourself at a healthy body weight is one of the #1 things you can do for your immune strength. So moving on to top tips for some common conditions. The monthly curse, premenstrual syndrome. I'm going to draw your attention to number 6 for 13 things PMS stands for, which is pass me the sweets. Many of us have these massive sugar crashes and highs, which we feel when you're leading up to your monthly curse. And actually, when we look at it scientifically and we do blood tests, you don't ever get hypoglycemic. Your blood sugars don't drop to where you feel it are, and they don't go high to where you feel it are. But actually, what happens is your own body becomes very sensitive to small fluctuations in your blood sugar. So although on a graph your blood sugar levels are normal, to your body they feel massively low and high. So it becomes really important to try and keep your blood sugars stable. And this is where the glycemic index comes in. The glycemic index is a measure of how much a food pushes up your blood sugar levels and how quickly it does it. What we're trying to avoid is your blood sugar levels doing this, and what we want to happen is that they do this. So of course eating little and often helps, because the bigger your portion, the more of a sugar load you're going to get. And the other thing is looking at the types of food. So an easy way of helping with the glycemic index is to go whole grain, because that fibre will help to reduce the overall glycemic index. But also add in different components of the meals like fat and protein, because they have a 0 glycemic index. So when you take the whole meal, that manages to bring it down. A good example of that, of course, is a jacket potato. A jacket potato isn't an unhealthy food, it's full of fibre, it's got vitamin C, but it does have a really high glycemic index. And you can actually lower that by having a small jacket potato and filling it with something like beans and cheese. 2 good, low glycemic index, good protein foods, and that will help to reduce the overall glycemic load. About up to 20% of women have severe premenstrual syndrome to the point of needing medical help. And actually, something we found on the Food Hospital was the benefit of calcium and vitamin D. And this has been seen actually worldwide now. It's being promoted in America as well. And you need to aim for quite a high calcium intake, 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of calcium, which, as I said, is up to about 5 portions of low-fat dairy foods, or you can take a supplement. And about 10 micrograms of vitamin D, which again, you can get combined with the calcium. Other nutrients that can really help are B vitamins, thiamine and riboflavin, and they've been shown to actually help to reduce PMS symptoms by 35%. And you don't have to take a calcium, you simply need to try and increase those in your diet. So things like whole grain cereals, some meats, milk and some beans. Oily fish for the essential fatty acids, and some people really swear by evening primrose oil to help reduce the symptoms like breast tenderness. And do remember that excess alcohol and being overweight both worsen PMS, so try to attack those if you're suffering. The next thing for us to look at is menopause. This is one way of utilising the food in your home to help cope with the hot flushes. Another way is to start looking at what you're eating. And actually, there's a lot of research going on at the moment about isoflavones and hot flushes. It's actually quite controversial. It's not fully agreed that this helps everybody. But what we are finding is that the women with the highest level of hot flushes, so more than about 5 to 8 hot flushes a day, have the most chance of benefiting from adding in isoflavones and soya foods into their diet. So soy, tofu, miso, all of those sorts of foods. But remember, it can take up to 4 months to have an effect. And we're back to the tortoise and the hare. Unfortunately, nothing quick happens in nutrition. And it was the one thing of working on the Food Hospital is, of course, they needed quick results. And nothing in nutrition happens quickly. Everything takes time. Other things that can be really helpful in the menopause is calcium-rich foods. A lot of things happen when you reach the change, and one of it is when the estrogen levels in your body drop, your bones start to suffer. You start losing calcium out of your bones. Now, unfortunately, your bones are a bit like a cash point. If we do a blood test on any one of you, the calcium level is expected to be absolutely normal. And your body is really good at keeping it at a very stable rate. And the way it does that is that every day, if you don't take enough calcium in through your diet, your body will withdraw it from your bones like a cash machine. But unfortunately, as you get older, your body can't put it back. It can until you're about 25, and then after that it becomes decreasingly able to put calcium back into your bones. So the best way to help protect your bones into old age is to every day make sure that you have enough calcium within your diet. So dairy, of course, is the easiest way to get that in, or calcium-enriched alternatives like rice milk, soya milk, almond milk. Also things like dark green leafy vegetables, fish that contain small bones like sardines, and even things like dried apricots contain a little bit of calcium. Try to avoid caffeine and alcohol if you have irritability or hot flushes. We find a lot that actually the thermal properties of food, simply having hot things, chili hot and temperature hot, will bring on a hot flush. So sometimes I tell people to actually keep a food and flush diary so they can start to see if certain things that they're having make things worse. To help your bones and to address the weight changes that happen with the menopause, try and add in an extra 30 minutes of brisk walking daily. This is the whole thing, that as you get older, unfortunately, your body composition changes year on year. From about my age, unfortunately, you will lose a percentage of muscle every year and you will gain a percentage of fat. So your weight may stay the same, but your body shape will change and your calories needs change. Because as I was saying earlier, the more muscle you have, the more calories your body needs in a day. So as you age and your body becomes more fatty tissue and less muscle, you need less calories. And of course, what that's going to mean, if you carry on eating the same, you're going to gain weight. The last thing to look at in menopause is unfortunately high cholesterol. 70% of postmenopausal women actually have high cholesterol. And what happens when you lose that protective estrogen in your body, a woman's heart disease risk becomes the same as a man's. And that's from menopause onwards. So that's a real worry for the women of menopausal age and older. And what we have now is something called the Portfolio Plan, which is incredibly effective for cholesterol and can also help the hot flushes because of one of the components in there. So if you wanted to look at the Portfolio diet, you can find a food fact sheet on the Heart UK website, and that covers all 4 components of the Portfolio diet. The first thing is about plant stanols or sterols. So there are a lot of companies are doing this now. You've got Danacol, Benacol, Flora Proactive, and what these contain is little plant compounds that mimic cholesterol and block the absorption of cholesterol from your bloodstream. So you can't absorb cholesterol from your diet. So taking one of those mini yogurt drinks every day can actually reduce your cholesterol by 10 to 15%, and that is accepted now. Unfortunately, it only continues as long as you take the yogurt drinks. So it's no good taking them for 6 months, seeing the drop in your cholesterol and then stopping, because you'll find that your cholesterol will go back up to where it was. So if you're going to start plant stanols for cholesterol, it's something that you have to sign up to doing for the rest of your life. That's quite a big commitment, so think carefully before you start that. The next thing is taking 50 grams of soya protein a day. Believe you me, that is a hell of a lot. And it's a really difficult thing to start doing from scratch. So what we often tell people is actually start with an aim of putting in 25 grams a day. And once you've managed to achieve that, you can then look at increasing it further. To give you an idea of how much that is, a whole pint of soya milk actually only has 20 grams of soya protein. You can boost it up further by having snacks on things like soya yogurts or soya nuts. You can incorporate using soya beans in things like stir fries, or replace some of the meat in your traditional dishes like lasagna or cottage or shepherd's pie with soya mince. And through all those steps in a day, you can start to build up to that 50 grams of soya protein daily. The next step of it is having 30 grams of tree nuts daily, and the most popular tree nut used in this is actually almonds, and it's equivalent to about 23 almonds a day. And the last step is about soluble fibre. Soluble fibre isn't the one that gets passed through and creates the bulk. Soluble fibre becomes like a sticky, gummy glue in your gut, and again helps to draw that cholesterol in and stop yourself absorbing it so you pass it out. So the sources of soluble fibre in your diet are particularly things like oats, has beta-glucan in it. So you might want to use one of those breads that has 50% of the oats in it. You might want to have porridge. Other ways of incorporating oats, of course, is things like mueslis. And then you can add in things like beans and pulses to salads, soups, stir fries again. And a lot of fruits have soluble fibre in, things like apples. And I know there's a stand over there that is giving away free apples today, so go and get your dose of soluble fibre. If you'd manage to incorporate all of these steps, you can actually reduce your cholesterol by 25 to even 30%. And that's actually equivalent to a statin without having to take any medication. But don't be fooled, this isn't easy. It's certainly not easier than taking a statin, and it takes a lot of dedication, but you can get remarkable effects from changing your diet in terms of cholesterol. The last thing I wanted to cover was skin aging, growing old gracefully. Is there a way you can protect your skin without resorting to Botox, lasers, and even facelifts? Well, the number one thing that is going to age your skin is your genetics, and time, of course. There is only a small component of skin aging that we can actually affect, and that, of course, is things like smoking, sun exposure, and also components of your diet. So there are some really important nutrients for skin health, and they include vitamins A, C, and E, riboflavin, niacin, pyridoxine, zinc and selenium. And all of those have been shown to have really good impacts in terms of maintaining skin health. So we spoke about the sources of a lot of those earlier, but to add in things like zinc you get from meat, and also things like shellfish are an excellent source of zinc. You must make sure you drink enough. We've all seen the effects of a heavy night out the next day on your skin. Very dehydrating and can help contribute to wrinkles, so do make sure you keep your fluids up. And in that vein, try to avoid excess alcohol. So recommended foods for skin health are avocados, berries, dark green leafy veg, pineapples, salmon for your omega-3s, tomatoes and orange-coloured fruits and vegetables. So what I'd like to do now is actually give any of you the opportunity to ask any nutrition-related questions, and there is a roaming mic just on the front step if anybody would like to ask a question.
When you were talking about fad diets, just before you kind of launched into that, you said select a diet that works for you, so whether it's Weight Watchers or whatever. But you also mentioned the Atkins diet when you said select a diet that works for you. Then you went on to say don't pick a diet that excludes food groups. So what's your opinion on the Atkins diet?
Well, the Atkins diet is usually done in stages, with the first stage being the most severe, where they take out most carbohydrates, and then they do start to incorporate the carbohydrates back in. I would never advocate cutting out a food group long term, and the reason the Atkins diet works is mainly because by taking out carbohydrates you're having less calories. But some people really find that in terms of keeping their blood sugars stable, having minimal carbohydrates helps them to do that. Other people find it absolutely hellish, gives them constipation, really bad breath, and they don't get on with it at all. I think for a short-term measure it's fine. I would never advocate not having carbohydrates long-term, because they're actually really important, like I was saying, for things like B vitamins and fibre, and you're really going to struggle by cutting out that entire food group. I think if you're going to go down the Atkins route, you've got to do the staged effect, so you do bring carbohydrates back in and keep to that most severe bit quite on a limited time scale, less than 12 weeks really. Anyone else? I'm gonna grab it.
I was just wondering what your views are on people or experts, whatever, who say that calcium from dairy products actually isn't really properly absorbed by your body, and that you would have a better chance of getting calcium from dark leafy veg than actually eating milk and dairy products. So basically people who think dairy is bad. I mean, what are your views on that?
I mean, there's actually, dairy is a really important food group for us. A lot of people feel that it's quite unnatural to drink the milk that comes from a cow, but then we eat the cow and we use everything else from the cow. I think in terms of the absorption argument, actually every single food you eat in your diet, you don't absorb 100% of the nutrients. We actually absorb very little. And if you look at the iron in dark green leafy veg, we absorb about 5% of the iron from that. And when you get meat, from the iron in meat, you absorb about 30%. So the absorption of nutrients from all foods is really low. And actually what really affects your ability to absorb calcium from your foods, your body decides. If you are low in calcium and you haven't eaten enough calcium, more calcium receptors become available in your gut and you will absorb more calcium from the food. If you have a very high calcium intake, your body is aware of that and it will close down some of your receptors and you actually absorb less calcium from that food. So I don't think there's any argument to suggest that the calcium from dairy is more poorly absorbed than that of green leafy veg. And actually, if you look at the amount of calcium in dark green leafy veg, you would have to eat tons of it in a day to actually get your whole calcium needs, because the calcium levels within dairy and things like calcium-enriched soya tend to be much higher than what you find in dark green leafy veg. I always say you're actually best from trying to get every nutrient in your diet from a range of sources. Don't just rely on dairy, because actually there are other benefits from eating the other foods, but there's no reason to exclude it either unless you're doing it for ethical or personal reasons. All right?
Mine isn't a question.
Yep, just hold it right there.
Mine isn't a question. At least you've answered why my cholesterol suddenly went up.
Ah, why was that?
Postmenopausal.
Yes, yeah, of course. You lost your protective estrogen. Yeah.
So at least that's answered that.
Yes, it's always nice to be able to solve a mystery.
I was
Yeah.
taken aback.
Well, no, it does, and it can happen quite suddenly. If your estrogen levels drop very suddenly, then unfortunately all that protection that it's offered you throughout your life is gone. Absolutely. Well, I will leave it there, but I hope you all enjoy the Vitality Show. And what I must tell you is actually, just next door in the TLC stage, there is consultations with registered dietitians all day, and they're completely free. So if you have got any queries or questions or a medical condition that you'd like some help with, come and book in. I'm available there as well, and there's dietitians giving out free consultations all day. All right, enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.
I'm here with David from TryBest because they try their best. Is that why? I know,
very
seriously.
good.
That's probably
Can't
been
nick that
done
one.
before. That's been done before, hasn't it, really? So, David, what's the company all about?
Okay, well, we produce a series of health equipment products, from juicers to blenders, which I'm going to demonstrate for you shortly, humidifiers, dehydrators, so anything you might have in your kitchen that helps you live a healthy life.
And where would somebody be able to get hold of one of your products?
Yeah, traditionally online. So place like trybest.co.uk, UK Juicers, Juiceland, and a number of other online retailers.
Okay, well, let's have a demonstration. So what are we going to see now?
Okay, we're going to see the personal blender in action. And the reason we developed this personal blender was because one of the main bits of feedback we had about personal blenders over the years was that they sat there on your kitchen unit shouting at you to be used.
And you
but
never used
used it because you always thought it's such a faff, one, to use, and secondly to clean. So we thought we'd tackle that. So what I'm going to just show you here is that I've put some fruit in there. We've got some banana, blueberries, strawberries. Put some water in. Take this. Screw that on there. Pop it onto the main unit. Okay, you've got a smoothie. Now you take that off, rinse that under the sink, and that's it. Rather than having to pour that into another glass or a cup, if you want to take it with you, just put your lid on, and off you go. Or you can go on the tube
Oh, yeah.
with one of those.
Oh, that's really good.
So the personal blender comes with the base unit, 2 cups that size. If you don't want to make that much, a lot of people use a liquidizer. Yeah, but they only want a small amount, but they have to clean the whole liquidizer.
Yeah.
So just make a little, that's all you need.
This is really good for baby food as well. isn't
Very
it? When you're
much so.
mashing baby food.
Very much so. We've got these glass ones to keep the baby food in airtight.
That's really clever.
It not only does soft fruits, it does hard fruits, vegetables. You can grind coffee and keep it in one of these glass jars. Nuts, seeds,
So it's powerful enough to do nuts and seeds.
very much so.
So
Crush
being,
ice.
Being that powerful, it must be quite expensive. Is it expensive to?
No, the retail price for this one is $79.95. There we go. See what you think.
Cheers. That has actually really blended it because I have another juicer by a different brand,
Yeah.
and you have to hold on to the thing, and when you get it, actually it's more like sludge,
Yes.
and you can't get it through the little hole.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that is giving it a consistency of sort of, if you mix water and yogurt, that consistency, which
Absolutely.
is quite fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very good.
Really
It's
easy to use.
So you get for the $79.99, you would get that,
You get 2 of those.
2 of these.
The base unit, of course.
Base
2 of
unit.
those. 2 of the smaller jars.
Yeah, and that's got a blender on it as well.
And that's got the
Yeah.
blending mechanism there. And then you've got 2 cups and one of those.
That's really good. I see. Well, David, thank you very much.
No problem.
Lovely
Thank you.
demonstration.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks for trying it.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks.
Okay.
So that's it for another year. We'll be back with loads more action. But until then, see ya.